internal and external auditing for both our public and primary and private schools within the state. QA reviews in education focus on programs, services, processes, and of course, teaching and learning. Since no single framework can address all aspects of quality assurance, choices must be made. It is critical that we make the right choices about what is evaluated and how we go about this. And this is based on best practices based on research. Now, there are three pillars of quality assurance. We have number one, self-evaluation. How do you see yourselves? How do you see your school? Okay. Then the second is external evaluation. How does the agency see you or a third party see you in terms of assessing your level of quality when it comes to our different tiers of success, right? So we have teaching and learning, we have child safeguarding, amongst others. And then also your school development plan. How is your school planning to move from point A to point B, given the resources that you have and given the capacity of your school? I know this is a bit light. Sorry about that. I tried to darken it before we got on, but I will just read it out loud for you. QA also provides support to help schools reach more aspirational goals. So we don't just want a checklist of things you're supposed to do, right? In order for true teaching and learning to occur where it will be impactful and really affect the student learning outcomes, to an extent, we need to be more aspirational in our expectations of ourselves and of our schools. So how we provide support through this is number one, through guidance, giving clear reporting with research-based viable options for improvement. Okay, so we need to be able to guide you, but we can't guide you. We can't guide you without a roadmap. Okay, it needs to be clear, it needs to be research-based, and it needs to be viable. It has to be something that could actually work, given your resources and given your circumstances. Number two, transparency. External evaluation reports are to be made available to schools and communities. So community stakeholders such as parents, community leaders, NGOs, anyone that wants information on schools, right? Because we know that schools do not exist on their own. They exist within an ecosystem. Evidence and justification to be provided for ratings. So not just saying a school is a 4 or a school is highly effective without having some real evidence to back that up, and evidence that you can align to the standards at which you've been graded upon. Number three, efficiency. A live automation platform to streamline quality assurance, self-evaluation, external evaluation, and school development planning. Don't worry, I'll be sure to darken this so you can have access to this later on through our website. Okay, so how efficient are we? We realize, especially during this time of COVID, the importance of having access to this information at your fingertips. So with the support of our wonderful Mr. Governor, Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu, and of course, our Honorable Commissioner of Education, Mrs. Folashade Adefisayo, we are really working toward having all of our processes are automated, and that's something that's already in the works, although not fully implemented yet. Then last, capability building. So how are we able to provide digital training in core areas of quality assurance for all stakeholders, including school development planning, child protection and safeguarding standards, and in the area of conducting classroom observations, in addition to so much more? How are we able to build your capacity as individual teachers, as individual school leaders, as a systematic system, as a school, okay? Then COVID-19 and reopening. You know, during this time, we really had to figure out how we're going to support schools at the onset of COVID-19. And it's really been a blessing in disguise in many ways, because it got us thinking more strategically about where we need to be. We know that we were not where our counterparts are around the world, given our circumstances, but we realized we could actually do more with what we have. And during this COVID-19, I think educators everywhere have realized that they can do far more than they realized that they were able to do. Especially huge kudos goes out to our teachers, who are essentially the frontline workers, ensuring quality education for all. Okay, so when we had to when we had to tackle COVID-19 and school reopening, there are three main things that we decided that we wanted to focus on. And one is having research-based guidelines for reopening and then adapting it to the Lagos context. We know that in Lagos, Lagos does not necessarily represent the whole of Africa or even Nigeria, and that the ecosystem in Lagos is very different than other places like maybe Kaduna or Kano, right? So we had to make sure that we're using the federal government guidelines in addition to research-based best practices, guidelines for reopening, and adapt it to what would actually work in Lagos. Second thing that we were able to do is we're able to use a UNESCO featured Ready to Reopen online course. And this course was accessed by over 20,000 educators, including, if not all of you, or many of you on the line, if not all of you that are here today. Then providing reopening rubric and evaluations. Part of the course, the reopening course that we have for teachers and school leaders, really, helped sensitize teachers and school leaders as to what school would now be amidst COVID. And we realized that it's not just about safety protocols, but some of these plans per se really needed to center around operations. So schools that wanted to go above and beyond were able to submit evaluation plans toward clearance. And these plans were focused on operations, learning, safety, sanitation, and health, and also communication. We thought, based on best practices, that these are the 4 components necessary in order for school to happen effectively during this time and beyond. So that's where the rubric and the evaluations toward that clearance comes along. Additional elements of our COVID-19 response was obviously school closed March 23rd, 2020, where we're in towards a year that schools were closed, free online learning platforms. Then in May, we launched Read Aloud Lagos, which focuses on building a culture of reading amidst the closure. And we had the governor of Lagos State, in addition to other notable people within our society, read aloud to children for an hour. And then the third part is Lagos Learns Together, which is part of the training that is being given today, which is really to serve as a resource and guidance microsite for schools and families in a distance and hybrid learning space. Then we have HP Innovation and Digital Education Academy. And this is really to ensure that school leaders, teachers are equipped with a sort of cohort-based guidance, training over the period of a year, end to end, and really see how we can build ambassadors for innovation in schools within their classrooms, right? So not really focusing on principals, but focusing on those that are directly going to impact teaching and learning, which is our teachers. And this was launched in over 30 schools, including public schools within the state. Then the last element of our COVID-19 response focuses on a quality assurance, a supplement guide. We realize that we can only be as good as, as the standards and documents that we've created for ourselves. And we realize that the existent quality assurance framework document needed updating. Obviously, most obviously was the update when it comes to hybrid and remote learning, in addition to others. So this really will serve as a basis for our automation and training, and it includes COVID-19 and distance learning protocols. Now, we're very proud to be able to launch Lagos Learns Together, and this is happening tomorrow, okay? We're finally launching Lagos Learns Together, like I had explained earlier on, is really a communal space where we focus on learning for our key stakeholders, being students, teachers, school leaders, principals, and parents, right? We realize quality assurance cannot really happen without taking into account the learning of our various stakeholders. So we have this platform that allows that, and it is a living platform where we will continuously add content as we go along. Okay, so this is the first in a series of trainings that we will have targeted towards our educators, right? So for instance, today we have emergency remote and blended teaching. After this training is available here live, we have the recorded sessions online for anyone to use anywhere at any time. Another thing we realized was really important was building resilience in the education sector. Okay, and what does that mean? COVID-19 brought about more change in the education sector than in the past year and then in the past century. Think about that. You know, in the past 100 years, we've not had so much change and innovation in education as we have in this singular 1 year. And what does that mean? What are the opportunities that have existed, and what are the things that we need to keep in mind during this time? So we know that quality assurance must keep pace. We don't want to be left behind. And new areas of quality assurance must include a more proactive child protection and safeguarding, not just policy, but systems that exist at every level, at the systematic school level, at the teacher level, and even at the student level. We know that as a state government, the Office of Education Quality Assurance, in collaboration with DSVRT, that is Domestic and Sexual Violence Response Team, through the Ministry of Justice, was able to create an online training, roughly 4 hours, with seasoned facilitators, where you can get a certification for child protection and safeguarding. Okay, so we needed to be more proactive about this. Let it not just be a document that we're signing off on. Okay, number two, quality assurance for distance and hybrid learning, including remote campuses. This is key, right? How do I know that that this distance learning or this hybrid learning model is working for my child, for my children, right? Our stakeholders are concerned, as they should be. As a teacher, how do you equip yourself to prepare for this new normal? Then e-safety at school, at home. We know that our children have more access to technology now under the guise of education, and we want them to be global citizens, but what challenges come as a result of that? Have we prepared our children? Have we prepared our parents, our schools, our teachers, how to really embark on e-safety and to practice it both at home and at school? Then data protection. How are we able to still remain to still have our sense of identity, our sense of safety for when it comes to data protection? How are we able to protect our data? Then how are we able to also improve on guidance for online and in-person support for special education needs students? We know that in this climate, in Lagos, our children that exist in this kind
Okay, we lost the DG for a while. She would come on board again to complete her presentation. Just give her a minute to come back up. Okay, while we wait for the DG to come back to complete her presentation, I had initially shared the agenda for today. I'm going to be sharing it again in the chat room and for us to all see. So, following DG's address, we are supposed to commence with the training for today. She had talked about the fact that today's training is titled Emergency. Today's training is titled Emergency Remote and Blended Teaching. And I'll be sharing with us very quickly our facilitator for today. Once the DG comes back up, we will take the final part of her presentation. But so that we can move on, I'm going to be sharing my screen to introduce our facilitator for today. Okay, I'm sure you can all see my screen right now. Our facilitator for today is Mrs. Okeinfo Ajayi. She's a certified evidence-based educational entrepreneur and startup business consultant. She founded Busy Mind Center in 2013 and has grown Busy Minds to enviable heights in the education landscape in Nigeria. When she's nerdy, you know that she's wearing her glasses when she's really nerdy, and her nerdiness is evidenced by her certifications from notable educational institutions, including the prestigious Harvard Graduate School of Education in Boston, and several other certifications she has acquired in the US and in the UK. And she has really done well for herself in the education space. In her quest for more inclusive education for all children, she does work with the OEQA, like she's doing today, and she's also one of the executors of the STEAM Up Lagos project. She also facilitates a host of school leadership trainings and teacher training workshops across the country. When she's not glued to her computer, reviewing curriculum, catching up with her clients and mentees, she is reading a novel or relaxing with a cookery show on Netflix. Okeinfo, also known as Mrs. KK, is a purpose-driven educator and a business professional, a writer, a capacity development professional, and a performance coach, and obviously a sought-after speaker. Please join me in welcoming Mrs. Ajayi, aka Mrs. KK, to take us for the training today. You're welcome, Mrs. KK. Can we see your face now? Is she online? Mrs. Ajayi?
Hello, Mrs. Onito. I'm actually back.
Thank
I
you.
just realized, and welcome, Miss KK. Did I get it right?
Yes, KK.
Okay. I'll assume that I'm part of the special club that I can call her Miss KK. Welcome, Ma. So I just wanted to sort of wrap up because I realized that I was cut off at some time. So if Ms. Oniton can just support me in figuring out where I stopped off.
You went off when you were talking about the resilience in the education sector. You were on special
Was it this
education.
slide?
Yes, that's slide.
Okay, great. So we're just about to hit the last slide. Okay, thank you so much. So obviously the importance, so COVID-19 has brought about, more change, including the need to have more improved guidance when it comes to online and in-person support of special education needs students. Then, as school leaders, we must be resilient. Now more than ever, our children need us as teachers. They need us to serve so many different roles. If we thought the role of teacher was already multitasking, to be honest, the multitasking is actually just beginning. The good news is that the good news is that we are here to support you as an agency, as a government, to ensure that there's quality education for all. Sorry. Okay. Their future lies in how we deal with crises, okay? So although it is not comfortable for us to maybe figure out how we're going to deal with crisis during this time, it's really important that we realize that it's very important to be resilient. It's very important to be able to plan towards uncertainty. It's very important for us to model to our children what it's like to fall and get right back up, to fall and get right back up better and stronger, okay? And it's not rocket science. This is something that we can, practice doing. There are many models that we can choose from to show how we can be more resilient as a classroom leader, as a teacher, as a school leader, as a school, and obviously as a sector, okay? Crisis is beyond the pandemic. Like we experienced in October, we had NSARS, we have protests, we have kidnappings, we have natural disasters, and we have to get better at responding to these different things that we're really to expect. We are really to expect disruption, okay? So how can we be more resilient to support that? Lastly, we really need to work to ensure that crisis does not mean an end to our children's education. It does not mean an end to the education sector, okay? We need to plan with crises in mind, and that is the last thing I will leave with you today. I know we have fantastic facilitators here today, and I'm expecting you to be fully prepared to have, your pen, your paper, wherever it is, get comfortable and really dig in. We know that some people, obviously, because they may be in the classroom at this time, will not be able to join in live. And it's great to be able to join in live because of the Q&A, but be rest assured, you will have access to this recording later, and the recorded version is going to be on our website, lagoslearnstogether.com. I believe even the one for today is already on the site, okay? It's already on the site, but it's just, and that is just to ensure that technological issues like the one I experienced will not keep us from productive learning. So on that note, I will be checking out. I'll be off to the side, listening and learning.
Okay, thank you, DG, for that.
Get this kick started. Like we said, Lagos Learns Together is launching tomorrow, and we're very excited. Do have a great day.
Thank you, DG. Yes, so we're all looking forward to the launch of Lagos Learns Together tomorrow. And we'll be learning more about it in this training today, more about the website and the content and what we have in store. So I'm sure Ms. KK is ready now. and we'll just go straight into her presentation as I've already done the introduction. Thank you, Mrs. Keke. Thank you, Gigi. And please, as we move on, if you have specific questions, please use the Q&A icon to drop your questions. But if you have general comments, you can put in the chat room. But so that we can respond to all questions properly, please use the Q&A icon for your specific questions and general comments in the chat room. Thank you. Over to you, Ms. Keke.
So much, Lanre. Thank you, DG. Thank you, everybody who's here. It's really good to be here. There's something that the DG said that was really critical. She said that our future lies in how we react and respond to crisis. Right, and a lot of times in more recent times when we think about crime, but there's so much more than that. There are times where, and if you're here as a school, times where there's flooding, and just as why we think to ensure that learning doesn't stop, and that's what this training really is about today. And so I'm going to share my slides very quickly, but one thing I want to add is, if you were listening
Hello, Ms. Onito. I don't know if it's just me, but can we hear our facilitator?
So the
Ms. Keke, we couldn't hear you. You went off.
Presentation. It's a 4-part presentation. Just waiting for you to just dig in. It's just so much. Honestly, I'm ready.
Ms. Keke, can you hear us?
We can hear you, but we can't hear her.
Ms. Ajayi, are you there?
So looking at here today
Okay, I think the facilitator is going to be joining back in. Ms. Onito, okay.
She's trying to change her network. It's raining heavily on the island, so she has a little bit of internet issues, but she's joining with another connection right now. So she would restart for us to be able to hear. And this is exactly why we mentioned that this particular training, because we know that we may have technical issues. On the Lagos Learns Together website, we have the pre-recorded versions of the training, full sessions. It's almost 2 hours of trainings divided into 4 sub-modules. So after the training, we can access the full webinar there. However, today's session, the reason why it's important that we should stay on the call is because we have the opportunity for Q&A, and then we have the opportunity to be able to get further insight from the facilitator. So Mrs. Ajayi is back on the call, and then I'm sure that she'll be able to share her screen and then get us.
Okay.
You may want to put off your video so that we can see your screen, and then that may help with the network issues. All right, you have the floor.
Okay. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. Sorry about that, guys. And that's why this training is so important, right? So it's not just about, there's so many things that cause disruption. The world, my systems are great. What of when it's not great, like today, right? And you can't imagine what I've done to ensure that everything is stable today, but it's not, you know, so, and that's what happens, right? And that in itself is a crisis. That in itself can lead to a learning loss, simply because something that we thought was fantastic isn't. And so we're going to be looking at how do we move from an emergency response.
Mr. Ajayi, we can't hear you again. You can put off your video so that it doesn't take bandwidth.
To actually planning, to ensuring that we're not just reactive to what we can just take off. Is my voice back?
Yes, your voice is back.
Okay, fantastic. So I'll just leave my video off. I think Mrs. Internet has been a little funny today. Okay, so we're going to be looking at this session, and we're going to be looking at emergency, remote, and blended teaching and learning. So how do you actually set it up in your school? And then we're going to start from a place of what are you doing right now? Okay, so what are you doing right now? We're going to define what you're doing right now, and then we're going to go into a space of planning. How do we plan for remote and blended teaching and learning? Then how do we prepare our teachers? And of course, as the DG said, it's not just about preparing the teachers, right? You're not in a silo. Schools exist as part of an ecosystem, a living and breathing ecosystem. And when you think about that, then you need to imagine that you have a community, and you need to build that community and build it such that, one, they're supportive of what your innovations are, and they can actually do their part. So that's what this is about. And I'm extremely, once again, excited that you're here with us. And remember that the full training website. So as soon as that website launches tomorrow, you will have access to the training. All right, it's the full session is right there for you. Meaning what it is that we've been doing, and moving from what it is that we've been doing to a more long-term and sustainable system. Okay, so that's the most important thing. Think long-term. As Ms. Keke is speaking, just be thinking, how do I transition from the short-term to the long-term? Understanding the fact that crisis is not just the pandemic. It is insurgencies, it is riots, it is flooding in our environments. It is snow, if you're listening in from outside of Nigeria, that causes children not to be able to access school, parents not to be able to access school, even teachers not to be able to access school. So we must begin to think of a more sustainable solution. How do we make this work and work consistently? And so, of course, when the pandemic hit, you all heard the DJ, everybody scrambled. What are we going to do? What do we need to do? How do we ensure that our schools keep running? Not just education is a big deal, okay? And because it is nation and economy building. And so that's what we did, and that was short term. We may not have put a lot of thought into the planning. We were just being really reactive. Okay, and that's great. And so congratulations, everyone, for being able to do that. But now we're moving to a space of longevity, sustainability. And so what we need to do in that move is to begin to transition into planning, okay? So we have been doing emergency, remote and blended teaching. So we're thinking sustainability now, and that's what this is about. We're thinking, how do we consider the long term when we look at school and we look at our systems in general. So within the session, there are resources for you, the documents, the frameworks. There's a lot that we have put into this. And once again, this is being brought to you by the Office of Education Quality Assurance. So this training is not just for schools in Lagos, no. It's for schools in Nigeria. As long as you have a school, you can take this session and use the toolkits to create a sustainable framework for teaching to do when we think about the long term, is to say, who are my stakeholders? And your stakeholders, so you're looking at and saying, you know what, let's look at where we are right now and let us begin. What do we need to do to ensure that if anything happens, children can keep learning? So the first step in using this toolkit is to schedule a staff meeting and discuss how has remote teaching been? What was tough? What do we need? What are the gaps that exist that we need to close? And the second thing you need to begin to do is to create an action. It's always a big deal. You can always refer back to your documents and say, oh, you know what did we write when we had that first meeting? You can look at it and it becomes a toolkit. Think about everybody who's involved, not just your staff, but the parents as well. And as we go along, I will introduce the home component, which is the students and the parents, and give you tips on what you need to do to make that happen, okay? And then the second thing you need to do is write down your plans. Write down all the plans that you're getting from the sessions, and then begin to think implementation, okay? So you might have a fantastic intention. We want to do this, but if you don't do it, then there is a gap between your intention and your implementation. And that's what they mean for every single person who wants to create a sustainable teaching and learning system in their schools. Now, during emergency teaching, what we did, remember I said it out, it wasn't just, let's send the books home, school is closing on Friday. Okay, so you know what, open up Google Classroom. What can we do? That's what we did. We're almost like chickens with our heads cut off. We were running around just trying to make sure that teaching was going on, right? Learning was going on. And that's what, it's very temporal when you think about it, because we cannot keep reacting like that. If it is not the pandemic, it is a riot. It is an insurgency leading to what? Children being out of school. We cannot keep using temporal solutions for problems that very well might become permanent, all right? So we need to go into a long-term plan such that it's not just about engaging children on the short term, but it is what do we need to do on the long term to ensure that regardless of what happens, all we need to do is activate a plan, all right? And when you think about activating the plan, starting the entire process, we're gonna have 3 categories. Remember, this is an abridged version on the Lagos Learn Together website. And that's just what? 1 sleep. You sleep, you wake up, and the website is ready, it is launched. Okay, so just wait for that launch tomorrow. So the 3 parts that we're going to be looking at is teaching during emergencies. What are we currently doing? You know, how do we define it? And then we're going to go into creating a framework that is responsive for remote teaching if maybe nobody could be in school and your schools have to be shut down. And the third part we're going to be looking at is how do we create a hybrid? Learning at home and being able to come to school a few days in school and learning in person. Now, this that you're seeing here is a fantastic resource. And I would show you a bigger version of it. It's a Word document, so you can actually go in there. And once the Lagos Learn Together website comes up tomorrow, you can actually, you have access to this particular resource. And what you simply do with this is, how do I create my planning tool? So this is a planning tool for you. So if you notice right here, I'm just going to pull up my annotation and use that. So that's it. Right here, you would see that it's written here. It says remote teaching and learning, right? And the first thing you need to do is what? Develop clear expectations. What is our plan for this term? Where do we need to go at the end of the school year? So it's not just about today. Today is great, and it's great that we're doing it well today. But how about 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 1 year from today? Are we going to keep doing it? That's the question that we need to answer. And so this tool actually helps you to create that learning plan. And then you need to think about fall back on systems that are easy to track, systems that are easy to document. And so beyond the plan, what are the systems that we need to begin to put in place to make sure that our work lasts for the long term? That's the second thing you need to be thinking about as a school leader. And this tool is going to help you beautifully. Remember, a school is not a silo. You do not exist by yourself. You exist with parents, with your teachers, right? And you exist within a community of schools. So how can you communicate? How can you be sure that what needs to be happening is actually happening? So that's what this toolkit does for you. It's an amazing toolkit, and it will be available for you, for your use, free of charge on the Lagos Net Together website, right? So thank you to the OAQA, to Holistic Business. Now that link, so it's very easy for you to get onto it, all right? So just copy that link, keep it somewhere really safe, maybe in your plan. I'm back. I'm just going to share my screen again. Apologies for the break, but that is why we're here, and that's why we're doing this, right? So I was telling you to write this Lagos Learn Together. Stay with me and let's just get this, let's just power on and get this working. All right, so fantastic. The full session, the full 100% full session, 4 parts, is going to be on the website and available for you tomorrow. So we're going to be looking down and saying, how do we begin to create this remote and blended teaching plan? So this is part 2. And again, the first thing you need to think about is, where am I now? And so you must develop a sense of awareness as a school leader as to where you are. Can everybody hear me? If you can hear me, just put it for me. Okay, so Temitope, I promise you that I will, on this slide, so I kept talking about the Lagos Learn Together. So I'll put it back again. It will come on later because it's fantastic, right? So I don't want any of you to forget it, because it's such an amazing thing that the OEQA is doing for schools, and not just in Lagos State, in Nigeria and outside of Nigeria. So you will have access to it 100%. And you can write it again. Okay, so this is session 1.2. Remember, the full one is on the website. Slow down. I promise you will have access to the full session on the website once it's launched tomorrow. Okay, now when you're moving and thinking about preparing, so it's like soup, right? So imagine that you need to cook something. You might have all of the ingredients. You might have an idea. So you have what's it called? Guys, can you put it in the comment section? Let me be sure that people are here. What's that thing that you hold? It's a sheet of paper. It details the resources. It details the method. If I want to bake a cake, I pull it up. I can use it to go and shop. I can use it to cook, to bake the cake. What's it called? There's a specific name for it. Who is here? Oh, you guys are amazing. Oh, you guys are fantastic. Exactly, it's called a recipe. So you truly might have the recipe for what you want to do in terms of preparing for a remote or blended. I want to say thank you guys. You guys are amazing. The energy in this room just keeps me going. It's enough to power up my internet service. So you guys are just simply fantastic, right? So when you think about preparing, you have your recipe and your recipe is great, but you then need to think and say, what do I need for my school? What is going to work for my school? And as a school leader, you must come from the place of awareness. And when you think about the place of awareness, you need to take a close look at what is realistic for me. I might have the best recipe in the world, but if I have no access to Chinese vanilla powder in Nigeria, I am not going to have Chinese vanilla powder, right? And I'm just going to have to say to myself, what can I do, right, with my recipe? The point is not to drop the recipe. The point is to say, what can I do right now? And that comes from a place of self-awareness. So every single person on this call, you need to ask yourself, where am I now? And how do I move using all the resources that I have? And your resources are including the Lagos Learn Together website, and begin to plan for the long run. Where do I need to end at the end of this school year? The second thing you want to begin to do is say, how can I provide instructional leadership for my team? I know it's difficult. This is new for my teachers. Teaching online, teaching offline, it can do your head in, to be honest. You're sweating, you're stressed out, but it's something that you have to keep doing. So as a leader, you must say, how can I provide instructional leadership and functional support? Not support with your mouth, but functional support. And that's why we're here. This toolkit is going to actually provide that platform for you as a school leader to begin to plan, to begin to transition, first of all, in your mind. So think recipe and think, how can I make that recipe come alive? So it starts in your mind. So thinking in your mind and then moving it onto an actual preparation and planning and an implementation program, which is number 3, the actual transition process. I want to say thank you again, everybody, for being here and for just being on this session and being as active with your learning as you are. You guys are amazing. Now, in using this toolkit, remember, guys, we have 4 parts in this training session. Every part has its own specific toolkit. All right, and all of it is going to be available for you on the Lagos Learn Together website. The link has just been was posted on the chat box. So what you might want to do is go on the chat box and pull it up, okay, so that you can have access to that tomorrow. Yes, so we're in a good place. Fantastic. You guys are amazing. So in using the toolkit for 1.2, the planning toolkit, what you need to do is, again, 2 things. My learning outcomes. What are my learning outcomes for this school year? Again, you can copy it and just save it somewhere on your phone. Like I told you guys, OEQA is amazing. They're simply amazing. And being supported with holistics and global school leaders just makes the entire puzzle just fit very nicely together. So in using the 1.2 toolkit, you're saying, what do I do with learning? We understand that teaching is the process, but learning is the outcome. So if you're teaching and there's no learning, then we're not really doing what we need to be doing as a school system. So you must look at the learning outcomes and say, how do I prioritize learning outcomes for all grade levels? Not for 1, not for 2, but for everybody. And that's what you need to begin to do. And once again, when you get into the full course, you will see how you're going to do it. Now, the second thing you need to think about is, how can I support my teachers to develop a remote and a blended teaching plan? What resources do they need? Which can I give them? How can I be supportive of them? Because you understand that you cannot do this by yourself. No matter how fantastic you are as a school leader, you can't do it by yourself. And when you think about the planning, it goes in 3 formats, like I've just mentioned. We have 3 categories: the learning outcomes, the remote planning, and planning for a blended teaching model. Okay, fantastic. So once again, I've talked about this, so I'm just going to skip. Okay, but remember, guys, the full session is on the Lagos Learn Together website. The one times as school leaders, we honestly assume that people can read our minds, and people cannot read your minds. From 1 grade level to the next grade level. So of course, it might involve you looking at the curriculum for the next year. So if you're looking at students for maybe basic 1, you might say, oh, what's going to happen in basic 2? What do they need to get into basic 2? And then you might want to look at basic 2 or grade 2 or year 2 or primary 2. Of course, that nomenclature is dependent or dependent on you. what you use in your school, but we kind of get the drift, right? So we're talking currently to where they need to be. And you can't do it by yourself. You do it with polite communication. Don't let things stay in your head. He has put together the Lagos Learn Together website. So these are some elements of the website, some, not everything. It's a fantastic website, and it will be launching tomorrow, and then you will have full access to all of these resources for you. These are also resources on the website. So the study packets, and it takes us to 1.3. So remember, write down that website link and be ready for the launch tomorrow. And I'm sure a lot of you here might be invited to the launch, because it's something that's simply amazing, right? As a school, you don't have to think about doing it all by yourself anymore. So when you think about preparing your teachers, which is the next level that we're going to be going to, you're not doing it by yourself. You have a supportive and a responsive team in the Office of Education Quality Assurance you to support. Now we're going to stage 1.3, and you can go on the website tomorrow. 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4 are available for you, clearly with all the resources. 1.3, we look at preparing your teachers. Why do you need to prepare your teachers? Can somebody answer that question? Why do you need to prepare your teachers in this entire process? I'm waiting for your answers, guys. Come on, come on, come on, come on. And you can send it to panelists and attendees so everybody can see your answers and just learn. Yeah, this is a training session. It's interactive. So why do you need to prepare your teachers in this process, in planning? Can somebody tell me? Who knows? Where are those answers? Dara, that's fantastic. Mary, thank you. You guys are, oh goodness. Oluwatoyin, oh, thank you all for this fantastic responses. The essential stakeholders, fantastic. So I can see that you are right here with me to be better. Exactly. They are the frontliners, like the DG said. They are the front. They need to be prepared, because you can't give what you don't have. Thank you, goodness, Duru, for that. Thank you to everybody. Yaya Mohammed, the implementers, and I love that you use that particular word, implementers. Oh gosh, you guys are amazing. Zaytland School, whoever fails to plan, oh fantastic. You guys are beautiful. You prepare the teachers so that they can deliver. Oh goodness. You know what? You prepare them because guess what? They are part of the team. They are the ones who are going to be driving this process, right? And when you think about preparing your teachers, you must think in three dimensions. What is the training that they need, and what are the resources they will need? That is not for today, it's for years to come. Because in 2019, we didn't look into the future and imagine that we're going to have a pandemic. We also didn't think that we're going to have natural disasters like what we're seeing. We also didn't imagine that we were going to have insurgencies and riots and all of these things that cost what? Out of school learning. Right? So we do need to prepare our drivers, because as Atuke just said, Atuke Osaro, she says that they're the ones who are going to drive the learning process. Binga says that they're the motivators and counselors. And yes, they need to be prepared, just as Rachel said, so that they can perform well. Yes, they need to perform well. They're your engine. If your engine is not well tuned, then it's not going to move. Right? And that's really, really critical, right? So you need to say, what are the training that they need? What is the training and the resources that they need? So the engine is in the right place, but do they have the tires to move them along in this entire process? And that's what this session is about. It's about preparing them with the training and the resources, which is why you as the school leader need to be prepared. If you are not sure what your role is, guess what? You're not going to be able to move your teachers to where they need to be. And they absolutely have to be there. Right? And the second thing is that you need to give your teachers a head start. You must share resources with them. And all these resources were given to you on the Lagos Learn Together website. So yes, once again, I'm calling that website. And the third thing, the third prong in looking at preparing your teachers is you must keep them motivated. So one of the reasons why I'm making this training really fun is because I want you to be motivated. I want you to be here. And it's fantastic that Benga has just said that they're the implementers of societal positive values. So what are the values that you're using in your school to drive motivation with your teachers, to surround your teachers with that ginger? What's the ginger that is going to keep them going? That's a question you need to answer. But you must have a plan. not just to train them, not just to give them the resources that they need, not just to give them a hard head start, which is number 2. You must say to yourself, how do I motivate my teachers? And you're not just thinking it, you need to begin to write things down. And sometimes, to be honest, guys, it's not about money. There's much more than that, okay? And in thinking about how you're going to prepare your teachers, you must think about expectations. What are the expectations that they must be aware of? What are the things they must do? How should they do it? When should they be doing it? With what are they meant to be doing this? So you must think like that, right? And then, of course, equipping them is critical. The Office of Education Quality Assurance, supported by Holistic Business Solutions and Global School Leaders, have supported you with this. They're equipping you with this toolkit. How are you going to equip your teachers? You need to begin to think about that. But remember, it first of all comes from a place of setting the right goals and the right expectations to make it happen. And then, of course, you must think about motivating them. Okay? Now, this is another fantastic resource. And if you can see it on your screen, but remember, if it's a little small, it's going to be in the toolkit, okay? So when you go in tomorrow onto the website, there is a resource portion. And so all of this is on your website. And what this is, and so let me just quickly explain this to you. This in your school, you're thinking about remote and blended technology, right? And almost everybody in this world is on WhatsApp, right? So instead of thinking all these massive big things, so think WhatsApp. And when you think WhatsApp, this is a tool that we can give to you. And this is provided by the 321 Foundation in India, and it is fantastic. It not only gives you the topic, it tells you the subject, it tells you what day. So day 1, maybe Monday, day 2, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And it gives you an explanation. So what are the children meant to do at home? What should the parents do? What is the class focus for the teacher? What are the activities? And then look at the lesson link right there. These are the kind of resources that you would have, which is why you really need to be on this training. You need to be following the OEQA on social media, on YouTube, so that you are aware of all these trainings and you can provide these resources to your team. And yes, you need to bookmark the Lagos Learn Together website. That's the link, the website link again, bookmark it, so that once you need the resources, you honestly can run to it. Okay? So it's very important. So all of these resources are there at your fingertips, and you will not hoard them. We will not say to yourself, guys, and type it in the chat box, I will not hoard resources. I will support my teachers. Please write it so that I can read it. I like to read stuff from you because we're friends. Please write it. I will not hoard resources. I will support my teachers. Can I see that? Thank you so much, Oluremi. Thank you, Olakweju. Oh, thank you, Oluwatoyi. Fantastic. Stella, fantastic. Yes, hands out straight to the OEQA team. They've been fantastic. You will support my teachers. Yes, say, I will support my teachers. Yeah, you guys are fantastic. I'm just so in love with the energy in this room. Oh, you guys are really here. And that's just so amazing. Fantastic. So all of these resources, like I said, are on the OEQA Lagos Learn Together website. So once again, it's not just for teachers in Lagos State. So maybe you have a teacher outside Lagos State, outside of Nigeria, you know, you want to tell them, guys, you know how we gist on WhatsApp, guys, I have gist for you. You want to take a picture, do a video, even of this training right now, post it on your Instagram page, tweet about it, put it on your WhatsApp session, and just say, something great is happening in Lagos State, and it is available for every single school world over. So you want to do that. You want to tweet about this. You want to tag OEQA Lagos. You want to tag them on Instagram. You want to tag them on Twitter. You want to tag them on your website or your WhatsApp page. You want to talk about this, such that when it is open tomorrow, this resource is available to everybody in the world. So if ever there is flooding and your children cannot be in school, you activate your emergency remote and blended teaching plan. If ever there's a riot, you're not worrying about where you're going to get money as a school leader. What do? You activate your remote and blended teaching and learning plan. You're not thinking, my children, when they come back, it will be like as if I've never taught it. No, you are activating your remote and blended teaching plan. That's why this is being put together for you. And once again, I want to say thank you to the OEQA and of course the support that Holistic Business Solution and Global School Leaders has put into this. You guys are honestly amazing. Okay, so yeah, I've seen all your responses. I think you guys are fantastic. You've made this training honestly absolutely amazing. And yes, the entire Commissioner for Education, Dr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, you know, all of them, they've honestly put all of this together. Why? Because they understand the importance of education. They understand the importance of you, the importance of me, right? They understand that you cannot educate all the amazing children in Lagos, in Nigeria, and in the world by ourselves. They understand that we need active and functional support, and that is why this is here. So we are going towards the end of my session, and this is the fourth part. How do you prepare your learners and parents? When Madam DG was speaking, she said something which I would just bring back to you. She said, a school does not exist by itself. We are not silos. We do exist in a community. So how can you begin to pull your community to support you? Your community is strong. And if you leverage the power in your community, honestly, the sky is just the stepping point. It's the beginning. And so that is what this session is going to be doing for you. This part 4, 1.4. Yes, yes. So fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Stella. Saying that this will be this resources, yes, they will be shared on every platform. Oh yes, the resources will be shared. They will be fully available to you on the Lagos Learn Together website, 100%. Yeah. And once I'm done with my session, the OEQA and the Holistics team, and of course the Global School Leaders team will come and tell you and just reiterate that it will be available to you 100%. You did this, right? We're thinking about doing this together. When we work together, then great things happen, okay? Of course, it requires that we're moving outside of our comfort zone to a place where maybe we're a little uncomfortable, but the end result is that we are stronger, and we are stronger together. That's why we are a team. Together, everyone will achieve more because we're consistent about providing you with functional value. And so this is part 4. Yay! Now you can stop listening to my voice, even though it's a really amazing voice, if I may say so. And so thinking about preparing your learners and your parents, what do you need to do? That's the question that is going on in your mind, right? The first thing is you must think, how do I communicate the changes? But guess what? You've already written about the changes. Your teachers are aware about the changes, and they've already begun to put the changes together. Now you must think about communicating it. And when you think communication, don't just think about saying it. No, you will say it, but what platform are you using in communicating it? How timely is your communication? That's another thing you must be thinking about, right? And then of course, who are the different, what's the demographics in your school? So do you have children who may fall through the cracks because their parents may not have access to data or to smartphones? So you must be thinking holistically when you think, and I'm not saying this because Holistic Business Solutions is part of this. I'm saying it because holistically, you actually need to think about how you're going to communicate these changes such that everybody can grab it and run with it. The second thing you need to be thinking about is, how do I help the children understand that them taking ownership of their learning via a support system provided by the school and of course the OEQA team via the Lagos Learn Together helps them with self-management. So for me, right, when I got out of university and I started working, it was almost like I was in a jungle. My bosses were expecting something from me. It was like a jungle. Before I struggled to wake up in the morning and jump on the bus, get to my office, I'm sweating, I'm tired, and I need to deliver results. It was like a jungle. And so helping the children understand self-management at this age, right, in primary, pre-primary, and secondary level is fantastic. Okay, and that's something that we must clearly communicate to the parents and to the learners themselves, such that it is something that they are on board with, and they actually are doing something, you know, to make it happen for them. And of course, when you think about this, you're not in your parents' home, right? You're not there. And so you must provide a supportive system. Okay, so how do you help parents understand their role, their beautiful role in carrying this remote and blended teaching to ease the burden on you as a school and on your teachers? If you don't do it properly, then it's going to be like, why are you stressing me after I've paid school fees? And you don't want that kind of mindset. So you must plan how you're going to make it happen. And again, in planning, you must think in three a three-part, okay? The first part is community leadership. How do you provide community leadership? How do you create distributive leadership frameworks? How do you create transformative leadership? Something is, how do I prepare my learners? And of course, how do you prepare your parents? And there is also another, like I said, guys, there's so much resource for you. So even you as an individual, when you're thinking about planning, you can, these resources are there, okay? And this is another one. And I'm just gonna quickly highlight some of the really beautiful elements in this resource. So you're thinking, look at it. These are key messages for parents. So how do you send messages to parents? What sort of message do you send, right? Look at this. This says that you don't have to know what the children are learning about to help the teachers. You can support us by helping to build and maintain learning routines at home. Imagine a parent that feels that they have to become a teacher. But guess what? They're not just becoming a teacher, they're also working in their offices. And then they get this message, letting them know you don't have to do this. Just provide a routine, provide a space for your child to learn, and leave your child alone because we have equipped them. Your parents will be clapping for you. They would look at you as their new superhero. And those are the kind of resources that we're giving you to help you manage and transition everybody, every stakeholder into this process. Guys, I can't talk about this website enough. So don't think I'm a broken record, but it's so good. All of this training, the full training, remember, this is the abridged version. It is going to be on the website for you, and this is ready from tomorrow. So literally, we can bombard be available for you, all of these resources, how to use them, when to use them, and of course a few more up once I stop sharing my slides, and I will share those with you as well, right? And then this is, remember I said the full training is there already. So if you look at this, can you see 1.1 and 1.2? So it's already on the website. We just need to open up the website for you to begin to get into it tomorrow, right? And then in closing, the final things that I would like you to do is, maybe just take a picture of this slide, guys, and just begin to think about this. How are you feeling right now? I've said a lot to you, but one way that you are feeling, it'll be great for you to hear, for me to see your chat. So if you can just put on your chat, on the chat box, how are you feeling right now? Oh, it will be shared nationally. Oh, absolutely. Anybody can access the website by just clicking it anywhere in Nigeria, anywhere in Africa, and anywhere in the world. So absolutely, you can have access to it. All you need to do is click on it to the resources. Oh yeah, we think about everybody in Lagos State. It's not just about Lagos State. You can just do this one last thing for me, because you think, how are you feeling? Just kind of pick any of these 1 to 8 questions and just drop it in and say, you know what, I'm feeling supported. I'm feeling like I will not fail at this because the support is available for me. Of course, if you want to tell me, oh, I'm so happy to see that you're feeling enlightened, you're feeling relaxed, that's fantastic. What parts do you feel you might need a bit of support with? You need to also be able to think about that. Is there something more you want to learn? Now, in terms of what you want to learn, I would say, you know what, wait till tomorrow, so that when you have taken the full training, then you can put your comments in the comment section. There's a Facebook page that you can go to. You can also drop your comment on YouTube. You can drop all those things, even on the Instagram and Twitter handles. You can go on there and drop your comment so that somebody can respond to you from the OEQA team, right? And that's available to you. And then what is that one thing that you're going to start doing today? So it will be great to hear. And I want to say thank you for your responses. You guys are honestly amazing. Oh, Georgina, I'm so happy to see this. Guys, let me read out what Georgina said. Georgina says you have eased the tension of how to start digital learning. I enjoyed this. Oh, Georgina, I think you're amazing. Yakub, and I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce the name properly, says that he feels really fulfilled. Oluwatoyin says that they're relieved and happy to know what to do. Oh, you guys are amazing. And it's been just so great being here. The most important thing to do, be a reflective professional. Fantastic. Yes, you do learn from a place of reflection. So if you're not reflecting, then you're not growing. And if you're not growing, then there is a problem. I promised I was going to share some resources with you. So I am as good as my promise, and I'm going to share this with you. Now, guys, you can take a look at this. Look at it. It's fantastic. So this is something that it's a school leader guide and planner. And this is Microsoft Word. So it's going to be there for you. Look, In taking the training, you can sit down and begin to think about your short-term goals and your long-term goals. And all of that is there for you, right? How do you use technology? What information do you need? So all of that, once again, is there. How about routines? So these are all the kind of things that you want to be thinking about and saying, how do I use this? And there's one more resource I actually want to share with you that I think is going to be fantastic, and you will love it. I like it, so I'm hoping that you will love it. You will like it just as much as I do. So if you like it, just let us know in the comment section how you feel about all of these resources that I'm sharing with you. So this one is another beautiful one. This is because sometimes when you think about planning routine, it can be so difficult. Where do I start from is usually the question. So look at this. This is a sample routine, and it has notes for parents. So you're not just equipping the school, you're not just equipping your teachers and your learners, you're also giving your parents notes. So can you see that? 8 to 9, wake up, get ready, and have breakfast. And this is something the parents should do. So look at this, 9 to 9:14 mathematics. Work on the problem of the day. And remember that Excel sheet I shared with you that had the links? So that's something that you're sharing with your parents. And look at that. Look at the reading of the day. So, I mean, there's just so much that honestly has been put together for you by the OEQA team, and of course, supported by Holistic Business Solutions, represented here by Lanre Oniton, Global School Leaders Team, your partner, represented here by Suhani Jain. So yeah, all of this has been put together for you, and I'm just happy to be a facilitator and just get this going and begin to see the amazing things that you're going to do with this. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being so amazing and just commenting and making this training not boring. If not, it would just have been me talking to myself and wondering if I'm making any sense at all. But I want to say thank you. Thank you once again to the OEQA team for putting this together. You guys are simply amazing. I'm done speaking. My name is Okenfo Ajayi, and everybody calls me Miss KK, so please join in. I'm back to you, Lanre Oniton.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Miss KK, and right on time. Thank you so much. We really all enjoyed your session. I can see from the buzzing in the chat room that everybody enjoyed your session. Thank you so much. I warned you guys when we started that this is going to be a fun time. You can imagine Miss KK with children. We can almost have a TV show having fun with Miss KK. Thank you so much. Great session. Great session. Now, one thing I would like to tell us today, because you are on this call, is that you can actually go to Lagos Learns Together website right now and get all of the resources. So though it is launching tomorrow, you all have access. So this is the website, lagoslearnstogether.com/trainings. All the full versions of the training has been uploaded. We have everything on board. We have all of the resources. We have all the 4 videos. You get to hear Miss KK again very clearly. And this is over 2 hours of training. She has pre-recorded this for us, 2 hours. So 4 sessions, average of about 30 minutes per session, some a bit longer. Fantastic resource for you. So go to the website now. Once we're done with the training, don't go off now. Once we're done with this session, you can go to the website and listen to the detailed, she ran over it. Today's one was just an abridged version, just a summary for us to get a feel of what is on the website. Each session, each submodule is a minimum of 30 minutes. And under each one, you have the resources that you can download, all of the resources she has shown you, even more than what she has talked about. So for lesson 1, you have the guide planner, guidelines, you have learning outcome planners, you have guides, you have the WhatsApp lesson bank, you have the teacher preparation guide, you have key messages for teachers, you have, everything you need has been put in here. And I must say, this is the first phase of our trainings for school leaders under the crisis response training. And we have 5 more hot topics for us over this period. We're hoping this will be happening every week. We will communicate when the next session will happen. So this is just one. And you can see this is like over 2 hours. Imagine 6 sessions of, training full resources, things that we can use, ready tools. So these are not just go and prepare and then you're back to square one thinking about how am I going to do this. These are resources for you to be able to just plug and play and start using in your schools. And, it helps you with your team meetings, sitting down with your teachers, sitting down with the students, getting things done. Okay, so this is what is being provided for you. So please, once you're done, head to the website and start listening to the full trainings that are available for us. So on that note, we're going to open the floor for Q&A based on the agenda for today. We're still on track with time, despite all of the challenges we've had so far. So we have on the call as well some of our other facilitators. Mrs. Kega has been talking since morning, so she can answer questions. We have Mrs. Funsho Chikezie, one of our facilitators who's also on board. She can also answer questions, and then Mrs. Toyin Sam Emehelu as well, and then myself. We're all here to be able to respond to your questions. So we're going to open the floor for Q&A. We already have some questions in the Q&A box. We have some people raising their hands. So we're going to be alternating from the Q&A box and people raising their hands to get questions. Okay, so I'm going to read some of the questions from the Q&A section first. So an anonymous attendee says, I want to ask, please, how are the public schools benefiting from all of this? Remote learning, teacher training, long-term plans. So this training is open to everybody, all schools. So if you saw the e-flyer, you would have seen that it said training for all schools. So it's available to both public and private schools. And all these resources are also being provided to all schools in Lagos State. As long as you're open to taking them, it is being made available to everyone. Lagos Learns Together is for everybody, even beyond Lagos. So if any other state wants to use this, public, private schools, everybody is fine to use this. We're opening this up to everyone. So that is what we have done. Okay. I would like someone that has their hands raised. Let me see. We have Maureen Anthony. Do you have a question to ask? You can unmute yourself and ask the question. Maureen? Okay, if she doesn't have any question, I will take another question from the Q&A section from Pius Ayuade. How do we blend the different level of education of our parents to enable them embrace this innovation? Would any of our facilitators like to answer that? Mr. Pius asked, how do we blend different level of education of our parents to enable them embrace this innovation? Who would like to take that for us? Ms. KK, do you want to help?
All right, let me help.
Okay, Ms. Chikeze, thank you.
I think when we talk about the different levels of parents' education is basically a communication thing. I guess we're just saying, how can we get them to understand this and do what they're supposed to do their part with their children. So I'll say, whatever it is that is the preferred, so far, even if the parents were dumb, permit me to say, even dumb people speak, they have their sign language. So I will say, interpret this in whatever communication medium is best with your parents. Work with however you have been passing these kinds of information and trainings to them in the past. Leverage on that, use that. If it is pidgin English, if it is through text messages, if it is physical meetings, whatever has been working in terms of how you communicate with your parents, I think then each school just has to tailor this to your kind of parents in terms of language and setting and medium of communication. I don't know if that helps.
All right, thank you so much. That is very correct and it helps. It's communication that matters. So if all your parents only speak Yoruba, then translate all of your communication materials to Yoruba. What you need to do is communicate at the level where your parents are. And that starts with do you have the database of your parents? Do you know the different levels, and that would help you to be able to understand the kind of communication. So for some of our schools, we have parents that are not literate, we have some that are literate. So you also need to be able to identify that based on your database. And that way you can structure your communications for that. And I must say, one of the trainings that we're going to be having in this series would be covering communication. So that would also help you. So stay tuned, follow all of the trainings that we're having. Communications is a key part of one of the sessions that we would be having. All right. Anybody with their hands up before I read out another question from the Q&A? Is there anybody? Maureen, are you ready for us now? Do you have a question? Okay, so let me read another question if we don't have anyone on board now. Oluwatoyin Olatunde says, the big issue is parents are not willing to pay for the service. Please, how do we win their hearts? And is there any support from the government? Okay, so for me, this is, I think, maybe you're talking about extra costs of providing blended learning or remote learning. Of course, this is the support that you're getting from government, making it easy for you to be able to do this for your children in your schools. Of course, government is not going to pay the school fees of the children that are in your school. However, you need to find a way to be able to communicate with your parents, let them understand that yes, there's hardship. We know that some people have lost jobs because of the pandemic. Some people their businesses are not doing well. You also need to be able to create situations that would help them get ways to pay or get easier ways to pay. And this question also leads to one of the part of the curriculum. I don't want to, be giving another training while responding to our questions. One of the sessions that we're having is going to address this specifically. So how do we get school fees? How do we look at our cash flows? How do we ensure that we're able to support parents to be able to pay? What models are out there? What things can we try? I mean, government OEQA is trying to be able to support you in any way they can by providing you things that have worked elsewhere, options that are available. And this is part of an entire module is dedicated to this question about how to run for private schools, how to run this business despite the pandemic, and how to be able to ensure that parents are paying, how to support your parents, and all of those things will form part of the curriculum. So please stay tuned throughout this period to be able to get the best out of these sessions that we're having. Thank you, Mr. Oluwatoyin Olatunde. Thank you very much. Another question is, from Oluremi Abosede, cost of data and access to devices discourages most parents. Are there affordable data solutions to help parents plug into this plan? Yes, this is a very valid point. We know that a lot of parents, even during the lockdown, some of them were willing to start with WhatsApp school, but after some time, the cost of data was a challenge for them. There are options available, but one of the key things that the Office of Education Quality Assurance has done, and which you would see on the website and the training, the full training, once you go through it, is that if your schools are not able to deploy technology solutions, there are also the study packs that have been developed. So these are study packs that can be downloaded. There's the one for the lower primary, upper primary, junior secondary, and senior secondary. These are packs that can be downloaded, used on the phone. They can be printed, and this would help offline. OEQA is aware that it's not every school that can deploy technology, even as simple as WhatsApp is. That is why they've also created the study packs, and that is also an option for you. Okay, and of course, there are different plans that are available for the education sector. I'm aware of some of those plans that the telcos have come up with to be able to support the education sector. But yeah, that is still a challenge for some parents. So we can also look at the offline support system that is on the Lagos Learns Together website, which is the study packs. Okay, so that is an option. Thank you for that question. Okay, we have another question. For proprietors of community schools, buying of parents and guardians, parents' ability to play own responsibilities and supervision of pupils are challenges. How do we cope with these issues? Is there any facilitator that would like to respond to that for me? So they're just talking about community schools, parents and guardians not willing to play their responsibilities. How do they cope with the issues? What can they do?
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. This is Mrs. Toyin Samemehalu. I think basically this question is related to the first one answered by Mrs. Funsho Chikeze. It's almost about the same thing. We all know that the pandemic has actually created a shift globally. And so we should be focusing on the way forward and begin to see how we can engage them through orientation, through coaching, through mentoring, through support in little ways that we can. Because what we are really looking at here is to be able to fill up the learning gaps that has happened, is happening, and will likely happen in the near future. The most important thing is to begin to see how we are making progressive, positive changes, or rather, I can say progressive, positive movements for where we used to be. We may not literally be where we want to be, but we shouldn't, stay where we used to be. So it still boils down to helping our parents and other stakeholders to see the need, why we need to begin to move gradually. And then, of course, the place of motivation, the place of encouragement, the place of consistent and constant support cannot be negotiated. And that's the beautiful thing about coming for trainings and seminars like this. You have moved from a level of unknown to begin to know these things. And this is why questions like this are actually coming up on your mind. And so basically, that's just what we would need to do. A step at a time, a child at a time. Your school in collaboration with the Office of Quality Assurance and other stakeholders that are in here, we will begin to make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Imelu, for that response. So I have another question. Do we think it would be risky leaving children on or with internet without parental guidance? Would anyone like to respond? I have my own personal response. I have children, but then is there any facilitator that would like to help us with this? Leaving children with internet without parental guidance. What do we think?
So hi everyone. So it is important that before we even begin to think about the internet. Remember, in the space of preparation, you are going to have to prepare the students. And one way to prepare the students is help them understand what happens on the internet. The fact that there are lots of things they may be unable to control. And then, of course, you will have to put in, internet guide, like K9, I can't remember the name of it right now, but something that actually locks the internet and ensures that the students cannot go onto other links. And another thing that you want to do, just to ensure that in preparing your teachers and preparing your students, that even when they're without parents, you have done your part, is don't just take a link from YouTube and post it like that, okay? Post the YouTube links onto your Google Drive, so that way you've cleaned them out and it plays directly from your Google Drive, okay? So yes, it is risky, but it is possible, because if parents are working, then they may not necessarily be able to sit down with the students. But if you have prepared the mindset of the students, help them understand the integrity of the program and what exactly you are doing, and they know what they should be doing, then it's something that you can begin to trust your children to do it. But you must trust them in doses and release these sort of things in doses. So help the parents understand, oh, this is how you may set up your environment so that your child is with you, because some of these parents have to work, right? So you must also be empathetic towards the plight of the parents, understanding that they do have to do some other things, and sometimes they may not be necessarily there with their children. But if you have put some of these things that I have suggested in place, then it just makes it a safer place for the students to be. Thank you so much. My name is Okenfwa Jai, and I'm done speaking.
Thank you very much. So just to add a bit to that, like I'm a parent, I also have all those tools. I have Google Family Link that also helps me to kind of, once they're trying to download anything or they're trying to do anything out of what I have allowed on their system, I'm alerted wherever I am, and I can stop an app. Even if they download an app behind me, I can demobilize the app, I can remove the app from their system. There are systems that would allow you to do that even remotely. So it is understanding and preparing the parents, preparing the children, letting them know that is part of what we need to be able to do to ensure that. And from the Office of Education Quality Assurance, there's also part of the training about child safeguarding is also working on the internet, how to safeguard children from different things on the internet, because these are things that we're just learning, but we cannot say that because of those risks on the internet, we shouldn't go ahead with remote or blended teaching and learning. We have to do something right now. We can't just stop learning. What we need to do is have better ways of monitoring and ensuring that those things don't happen, okay? Another question we have is from Oluwatobi Wande Kayode, saying, considering the population of students in Lagos state government schools, what is the plan of the government in ensuring that blended learning is well done? This is one of the reasons that the Office of OEQA, I'm sure if DG was still on the call, she would have been able to give a better answer to this, and we would definitely get this question to her. But I believe that they're doing their best to ensure that this happens even in public schools. I'm aware that even public schools, because of their population, they are staggering classes, and I've also seen some fantastic public schools that are running WhatsApp schools, Telegram schools. And this is the essence of Lagos Learns Together, really. How can we support every single school in Lagos, whether public, low-cost, private, or big, or what big private school? Everybody needs support. So that is what the Office of Education Policy Assurance is doing. And they're also working with partners to ensure that this happens. So we're all taking it a step at a time, and we're trying to ensure that this works for all children in Lagos State and across Nigeria and around the world, because we all learn from each other.
Landry, can I add something to that?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. So the reality is, when you go on the websites, right, and take the full training session and look at the resources, all of the things Larry has just said, you would find that they're 100% true, right? Because on the training, the OEQA actually considered a blended format where children come to school once or twice in a week, so they did consider all of that. Also staggering the resumptions, and the resources that you have been given actually helps you as a school plan such that even children who may be at risk are taken care of. So all of that honestly has been planned for, and it is actually a joy to see how much thought has been put into these sessions. It's actually quite good, but the most important thing is implementation. So you must begin to think about your part and how you can actually begin to implement this and the little things you can do every single day to make it work. I just wanted to add that. My name is Sokain Fajayi, and I'm done speaking. Thank you, Landry.
Thank you. All right. We have a question from Daniel. Public schools are sharing the days for their pupils. So yes, I mentioned that I'm aware that there's staggered learning even in public schools. Do you think it is encouraging parents and pupils? How can the teachers finish their schemes? Okay, so that is why we're talking about blended learning. And I'll let Ms. Ajayi also respond, or any other facilitator, to take up the last part, which is how can teachers finish their schemes. So yes, we're encouraging, because of the population in public schools and the need for physical or social distancing in classrooms, we believe that the students have to do staggered learning for them to be able to not breach COVID-19 protocols. So that is why we are talking about blended learning and teaching at the moment. It is something that we cannot change for now, but it is possible for the teachers to finish their schemes, and I'll let one of the facilitators talk about that shortly.
Yeah,
so is it
I'll be happy.
Parents and the pupils? Well, yes, you need to. That's why communication is important. Preparing the training on 1.4, preparing preparing parents and learners is section 1.4 of the training. That is exactly why that training was provided. You must be able to carry along the parents and the pupils to understand why this staggered learning is important and why they need to ensure like Ms. KK said during her session, they must be able to manage themselves to be able to ensure that they are able to do what they need to do in this period. We all cannot avoid what is happening, and that is why we all need to ensure that we're playing our part towards education of these children. So Ms. KK, you can go ahead.
Yes, okay, so I'm just going to quickly share a resource in answering the second part of that question that says, how can we finish our scheme? So if you look at the resource on my screen, and it is available for you in the toolkit, you would notice there's this home learning portion, and then there's in-school practice, right? So what we have recognized in Lagos State is that it's difficult to finish it all by yourself, especially because of the blended learning format. So you must begin to prioritize the learning outcome. So you ask yourself, what is the outcome, right? So you need to sit down and do this with your teachers and say, what is the end point here? At what point are my students in level 1 going to exit the curriculum and move on to level 2? Once you determine all of that, you would agree with me that you would find that some learning outcomes can be compressed, some can be prioritized, and that's what you need to begin to look at and say, what do I need to prioritize? And if you go through session 1.2 in the training program, you would understand how to prioritize your curriculum and what you need to do. So you must think of prioritization. You must also say, what is the home element and what is the in-school element? How do I create bite sizes such that every single child can access this? And of course, you're looking at the demographics of your demographics are like your student population, which ones learn best in Yoruba, which one learn best in Hausa. So those are some of the kind of things that you're looking at in demographics. And then you're planning for all these areas, okay? Now, in thinking about the learning outcome and the end and beginning levels of the different levels, you can then begin to plug in where I am now and where I'm planning to go, and say, oh, what do I need to do in school? What do I need to do at home? How much time do I allocate? Which one do I need to record a quick video for and say, can I direct them to on the Lagos Learn Together website to do and realize that the curriculum well, and something is 100% available. This tool has been there for you. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Ms. Ajayi. Thank you for that robust response and even showing us part of the toolkit that provides an answer for this question. So you can see that we've anticipated a lot of the challenges school leaders are facing right now, and we're trying to ensure that we're able to provide resources and tools for you to be able to use to get answers to your questions and for you to implement immediately. Thank you so much. Oluwatoyin says, what best medium would you advise schools to adopt in passing all these information to parents, aside normal emails and SMS as used by most schools? So for me, it goes back to who are our parents? You know, what data do we have? Because you would know whether all my parents are on WhatsApp if you have done a proper survey. Or is it SMS that is best, or you know, do they even have access to emails? I can't tell you exactly what would work for your school because you need to know who your parents are and you need to be able to understand how best to reach them. For some parents, it's the WhatsApp group that is created for each class. For some, it's SMS. For some, they don't even read their emails. So some, they don't even have access to emails. Some, it might mean that you have to print a letter and send it home with the children. Whatever works for the kind of parents that are in your school, it all starts with your database and the information you have about the kind of parents that are in your school. Okay. Stella Ajike asked, is there a different checklist that the state inspectors use for assessing public schools? Because most of what the quality assurance officers or school inspectors seek in private schools rarely exist in public schools. Ideal population and all of those things. Why is this so, please? So it is the same tool that is used for all schools in Lagos. In terms of, and because there's no one on from OEQA, a director here to be able to speak, they evaluate the public schools alongside the private schools as well. So it's I believe it's the same framework they use to check those schools. Now, does everybody pass? I mean, that's left for us to be able to determine, but I'm sure that OEQA ensures standardization of assessment when it comes to all schools in Lagos State. And our final question is from, because we need to wrap up, is from Oyindamola, Ms. Shonola. Thank you for your question, ma'am. Another question is coming in. I'll try to wrap up because we just have 7 minutes to the end of this call. But Ms. Shonola asked, a percentage of children in public schools are house helps, etc. The guardians most times are not interested in investing in data for their online learning. I feel the aspects of downloading materials for such parents and students, interpretation of information in parents' own language, and designing a kind of motivation or incentive for such parents who make effort to participate in such children's learning would be a great idea. Oh, I love this, Ms. Shonola. You're not just asking a question, you're also providing a solution. And this is also what we hope to be able to achieve with this training, which is we're all learning from each other. It's not just the facilitators that are here to provide answers. This is a great recommendation. We know that some children, even in low-cost private schools, their parents are not 100% or guardians are not 100% involved. And these are recommendations that we would take on board and look at if it's possible for this to happen. We would also integrate this into the into some of the materials that we provide so that some people can have ideas of what they can do to encourage and motivate parents to be invested in the learning of their children. Okay, thank you, Ms. Shonola. And the final question is from Titilola Oyebajo. In my school, we were able to finish our scheme and even wrote all our examinations online. That's amazing. But we noticed that few of our parents assisted their children in their examinations. What application can be used to curb this? Anyone, any facilitator?
So what you can do, what I could suggest very loosely, because there are other applications that you can use, which are things like Timify. So you time the tests. There's another application where you actually have the children put on their videos so that you can see if the parents are helping them. But one thing you can do very easily is activate, like WhatsApp voice. So you send a voice note and have the children send the voice note response back immediately. So you have like an oral portion to your assessments, and then you have the written portion, and both of them need to balance out. If somebody is speaking and somebody's telling them what to say, you would hear, and you would also be able to grab it. You can do it via Zoom if it's possible, but again, you must be looking at the demographics that you're working with and determine what is actually best for your school, right? So putting an oral element is a good one, and that's something that quite a number of schools that I know have begun to do. Yeah, so I do hope that that's helpful. Back to you, Larry.
All right, thank you. Any other comment on that? Okay, so I think that has been answered. And there is another final question. Okay, I'm not taking any questions after this. So Timothy Oyekunle says, I met a GS2 student of a public school yesterday, and he told me he goes to school on Wednesdays and Fridays. What is Lagos State doing to assist all students in public schools who will eventually compete with students from other schools? Okay. Unfortunately, I am not Lagos State. There's only so much I can say for the government, but I think that, like we said, not going to school physically doesn't mean that learning is not happening. What we are saying is that because of COVID-19 and the population in public schools, not all children can go to school physically every day, but within the framework that the public schools have, they are supposed to be implementing blended learning, and the children, while at home, are supposed to have take-home assignments. They're supposed to be working in WhatsApp groups, Telegram groups. I've seen some of them to be able to continue learning at home. So it's not that because they go to school on Wednesdays and Fridays, Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, nothing is going on when it comes to their education. So that is my own answer to that. And I hope it suffices for you for now. So on that note, we would like to close the Q&A for today. We have answered all the questions in the Q&A box. Thank you so much for your contributions. And I would like to just, before we close in the next 2 minutes, if you can type in the chat box for us how this training was for you. This is the first one in the series of 6 trainings that we're having in this first phase. We would like your feedback. Once you go to the tools, the training on the OEQA website, on the YouTube, you can click on the YouTube link and leave comments, leave your questions. We would respond to them. You can also join the Facebook group of OEQA Lagos and go there and talk about your experience, how you've used the tools, how, even if you feel you can share some of the completed tools that you have gotten from this, from the Lagos Learns Together website. You can also share and how you've implemented a lot of things in your school. So we expect that you interact with all the documents that we've provided to you, all of the resources that we've provided to you, the training, everything is available to you from today. So you can start listening to the trainings. That's why we divided into 4 parts of about 30 minutes. And, the resources are under each specific sub-module. So thank you so much. We hope that you've enjoyed this. The next training is going to provide a lot of insight into the school reopening process and the new things that are happening. So as at last year, there was a school reopening process training that happened. And, there were a lot of things, we're all playing catching up, like the DG said, but now there is a second phase. And there are now new tools, there are new things that are going to be provided to us around school reopening. The rubric of, things that you need to put in place in your school has now been properly refined. This information is going to be shared with us. So don't just think this is the only training you're attending. There's so much more. Most of the questions you've asked are being addressed by the next few trainings that we'll be holding under this crisis response training. So we hope that you have learned a lot. I'm sure that you will gain more, because this is an abridged version. We keep saying that this is an abridged version. So if you have gained a lot from this abridged version, please go to the Lagos Learns Together website and listen to the full version and download all of the resources that have been provided for you. Thank you again to the Office of Education Policy Assurance for making this happen for all the schools in Lagos State, both public and private. And thank you for the support from Global School Leaders and Holistic Business Solutions. Thank you, everybody, and do have a nice afternoon. It's 1 o'clock, and we say thank you and have a nice rest of the day. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you for your comments, Oluremi Abosade. She advises that all schools should go through these resources and start putting them into practice before the next crisis comes up. You know, we don't know what will happen again. Anything can happen these days that will lead to closures. So please let us do this. Let us go back and look at the resources, and let us tell our friends, like Ms. K said, let us tell everybody that missed today's trainings. We had an average of about 200 people here, and we have 20,000 schools in Lagos. So let us tell our friends, let us share this information. One promises to be more exciting, and more resources will be released for us. LearnsTogether.com is where to go. We're going to have the formal launch tomorrow. You have the privilege to know what's happening from today. So please, and start working school more resilient.